Hi, everybody. How are you doing today? I hope your day is going well and it continues to. I want to wish you a happy holiday, happy Thanksgiving to everyone, and I hope you enjoy your holiday with your family. I was hoping to be done with this report when I read the report last time on the Stand Your Ground, the added addition to the Stand Your Ground. Unfortunately, when I got the report earlier in that day, it was fine. As I was reading through it that night, it had chopped the report. I guess when they added more to that news article, they had chopped that specific one. So, anyways, as I was reading through it, I kind of got cut off. And thank God I did screenshot most of that article because the whole article needs to be heard. I got a lot of positive feedback on the article, and of course, then I've got people who are not paying attention or trying to understand what I'm saying with this law. And unfortunately, if you believe that taking somebody's life for a probably misdemeanor crime up is okay, it's wrong. That's what court is for. That is what jail is for. And these same people are talking about lawlessness and having the right to do this and having the right to do that. But everybody has rights. And I get it. I'm a homeowner. I have a family. I have belongings. But a life is more important than any material thing you can have. And we don't just take life so recklessly. And again, you can say whatever you want on the other side of a keyboard, but if it was your brother, sister, son, daughter, cousin, whoever who got killed, you would not be saying the same thing or have the same feelings, because what I'm trying to explain is there's many situations where an innocent person can be killed because of this law. It's not just going to be the person you intend to kill that you think is okay to kill, which is not. It could be somebody standing down the road that gets hit by a stray bullet. It could be wrong place, wrong time. It could be somebody young just making the wrong decision, hanging out with the wrong people, and not even really a big part of it, but and they're now dead. I'm sorry, but life is more valuable than that to me. And people make mistakes in their life. So everybody is not a hardened criminal that does things or gets caught in the wrong situation or makes a mistake in their life. There are many of people, in life that have made a mistake and have a little smudge on their record and became very active in their community and good for their community and have done very big things for their community. So again, a death sentence is not okay for any reason unless you've committed murder or, I believe, even rape. Any violent crime that would take somebody else's life or seriously harm other people's lives, I don't believe that you just have a death sentence immediately. You have your day in court and you get the punishment that is supposed to be handed to you. Now, we will go into that mess on another video. But in this instance, you're asking not only for people's lives to be taken on the spot for possibly being involved in the crime, but you're also asking for more problems, because if you don't think that that vigilante is going to act and then cause another vigilante to act, and then you're going to have no laws, And then, like I said, the government comes in, takes control of all of us, and takes all of our rights, which in some ways I think is what he is trying to make happen. And you can feel how you want about it, and I can feel how I want about it. We all have our opinions, which is okay here. Everybody's allowed to have them. But I don't see anything good coming of this, nor do I see anything good coming in our future right now, unless we get people wanting to lead us the right way. Because right now there's too much corruption, which again, I'll go into on another video at some time. I really just want to get through this one and talk about this law and get all of it out there and all the opinions and what it could mean for us. So, again, you're going to have to forgive me because I have to get glasses. And I may stutter over some words because I can't focus after a while. And I'm nearsighted, so sitting on top of this phone is not going to help. Okay, so Governor Ron Desantis has drafted anti-mob legislation that would expand Florida's stand your ground law, a move that critics say will allow armed citizens to shoot suspects, looters, or anyone engaged in criminal mischief that disrupts a business. Lawyers say it's just one of the many troubling aspects of the draft bill being pushed by the Republican governor in response to police brutality protests that erupted across Florida and the United States this summer. It allows for vigilantes to justify their actions, said Denise George, a former Miami-Dade County prosecutor who had handled stand your ground cases. It also allows for death to be the punishment for a property crime, and that is cruel and unusual punishment. We cannot live in a lawless society where taking life is done so casually and recklessly. The draft legislation put specifics behind DeSantis' pledge in September to crack down on violent and disorderly assemblies, after he pointed to reports of arrest in other parts of the country after the high-profile death of George Floyd, a black man killed by a white Minneapolis police officer. The proposal would explain the list of forcible felonies under Florida's self-defense laws to justify the use of force against people who engage in criminal mischief that results in the interruption or impairment of a business, and looting, which the draft defines as burglary within 500 feet of a violent or disorderly assembly. Other key elements of DeSantis' proposal would enhance criminal penalties for people involved in violent or disorderly assemblies, makes it a third-degree felony to block traffic during a protest, offer immunity to the drivers who claim to have unintentionally killed or injured protesters who block traffic, or withhold state funds from local governments that cut off law enforcement budgets. DeSantis, who crackdown mindset mirrors that of President Donald Trump, announced he would push such legislation in the heat of 2020 presidential elections as he tried to deliver Florida to Trump, who lost re-election but won Florida by nearly 4 points. Shortly after the announcement, a DeSantis administration attorney circulated a draft version of the bill titled Anti-Mob Legislation Draft to the Senate Committee and Criminal Justice, according to email and a copy of the bill draft obtained by the Herald Times as part of a public record request. The governor's office sent the same draft bill to the House Judiciary Committee. House spokeswoman Jean Sarkisian said, I hope I pronounced that right because I don't think I did. It's clear that Trump beauty pageant is still going on with governor and senators who all want to be the next Trump. And the governor is clearly a very And the governor is clearly a very good contestant, said Miami Beach Mayor Dan Gelber, a former federal prosecutor and Democratic state legislator who was a critic of the Stand Your Ground law when it first passed in 2005. Gilbert said the governor's draft bill sounds like an invitation to incite violence, which is what I agree. I believe it's to start more violence. And what comes after that, I don't know, but it's not going to be good. Okay. As of Tuesday, the proposal remains just that, a draft. No bills have been filed in either the House or Senate, and no legislator have publicly said they will sponsor the proposal ahead of 2021 legislation sessions, which convince March 2 committees been meeting in January. Whatever. Okay. Yet a number of attorneys are already raising concern about the governor's draft, including the expansion of Florida's Stand Your Ground law. The law eliminated the duty of a person to retreat before using force to counter a threat, which critics say fosters a Wild West shoot first, ask questions later mentally. It also gave judges more leeway to grant immunity to someone they believe acted in self-defense before they're letting a case get to the jury. In 2017, Florida lawmakers changed the law, forcing prosecutors to shoulder the burden of disproving a defendant's claim of self-defense. Prosecutors must prove by clear and convincing evidence that someone was acting in self-defense. The changes to Florida's self-defense law have long been opposed by many in law enforcement. 2 years ago, State Attorney Catherine Fernandez-Redl became the only elected prosecutor in the state to call the latest illustration of the law unconstitutional. Over the years, judges in Miami have thrown out murder cases in a number of high-profile incidences, including a man who shot another man as both cowered from the side of gunfire outside a barbershop, and a man who chased down a car radio thief and stabbed him in the heart. It's showing here a picture of beat-up protesters, and it says underneath, protesters were kneeling and calling for peace at a protest in Fort Lauderdale on May 31st as police continue to fire tear gas and foam rubber bullets. Latoya Ratliff was hit in the face with a foam bullet as she tried to leave. So, again, these protesters here in Florida, which I was a part of, protection, were peaceful. We're not doing any of the rioting, looting, etc. No criminal activity. Yet they were still tear gassed and hit with rubber bullets for a legal protest, for a calm protest with no violence. The police threw gas and shot rubber bullets at them. And even as they left, they were being shot at. Where does anybody in their right mind think that is okay? If you think that's okay, you don't deserve rights. You just should be locked up. And that's my opinion. Okay. Expanding the list of forcible felonies as proposed by the governor to include strictly property crimes like criminals, mischief that results in interruption or impairment of a business is vague and could lead to unnecessary violence, said Reed Rubin, a retired Miami-Dade homicide prosecutor. Any number of things that could occur, interruption or impairment to what degree, ? You could have people who are peacefully assembling who go in and out of a store, and the store owner or even a passerby could get nervous and misinterpret something and think they have the right to use unnecessary physical force or even deadly force, Rubin said, which again is what I've been trying to say. Simple. Passerby misunderstands the situation and takes lethal force on an innocent person who's doing nothing. Okay. Former Miami-Dade prosecutor Aubrey Webb was exhausted at proposed expansion of the state stand your ground law. It dangerously gives armed private citizens the power to kill as they subjectively determine what constitutes criminal mischief. That interferes with a business, Webb said. Someone graffitiing Black Lives Matter on a wall, urinating behind a dumpster, blocking an entrance. This is where I got cut off last time, so this is all new. She says the Boston Tea Party members would have been lawfully shot under Florida's law. The proposal also includes some legal redundance. Rubin said Florida law already allows for people to use force in response to a number of crimes that are considered forcible felonies involving the use or threat of physical force or violence against a person. And the law also allows for the defense of property in certain circumstances, he said. Miami defense lawyer Phil, I hope I say this right, Risenstein agreed. He said the proposed changes were clearly written with a political bent in response to the political brutality protests that erupted across the country this spring and summer. The laws existing in Florida have been able to address social situations in the past. These laws address no gaps in the current laws. Risenstein said it's bad policy to enact criminal statutes for transient political issues. Time and money are better spent addressing the underlying causes of the arrests. Will lawmakers consider it? DeSantis' office did not immediately respond to requests for comment on the draft legislation, and it is not clear who advised the governor in drafting the details in the proposal. Sorry, after staring at the screen, my eyes are going a little funny, so please bear with me. Okay, when the governor publicly proposed the measures, he did so along law enforcement officials and top legislative Republicans. The pitch drew quick backlash from the Democratic state legislators, some of whom said the proposal was unconstitutional and outrageous. Proprietization of a non-issue and a fear tactic to appeal to Republican voters ahead of this November election. Still, DeSantis urged state lawmakers to consider the proposal in November, a timeline that wouldn't be met. House and Senate leaders have not announced any meetings on policy next week, when legislators will be in Tallahassee to hold a post-election organizational session. In the weeks leading up to the election, it becomes routine for DeSantis to tout the proposal at Trump's rallies in Florida. He would push the message of law and order by telling the crowd he was proposing the strongest pro-law enforcement, anti-riot, anti-looting legislation anywhere in the country. Incoming Senate President Wilton Simpson is interested in taking a look at the issue, but there is no update on what the Senate plans to do with the draft language the governor's office emailed in September, according to Senate spokeswoman Katie Betta. Sarasota Republican State Senate Joe Grunter, who doubles as a chairman of the Republican Party in Florida, told the Herald on Monday that the governor has the right idea with the proposal. He did not say whether he will sponsor the bill, only that he will definitely be supporting it however I can. Pinellas County Sheriff Bob Gutierrez, who serves as legislative chair on the Florida Sheriff's Association, said the issue is important. One to the sheriffs across the state, but was hesitant to comment on draft legislation. The sheriffs want to review it and look forward to the proposed bill that comes out of drafting, and will be carefully analyzed and consider it and take a position once we see the final form, Gutierrez said Tuesday. DeSantis' proposal would also target counties and municipalities that making disproportionate funding reductions to law enforcement agency budgets. DeSantis is framing it as a push against defunding the police, a term used in police brutality protests that became publicized by Republicans throughout the presidential election. Under the governor's proposal, each municipality would need to certify to the state by October 15th that it is now that it is not cutting law enforcement agency fundings. Some Miami and Dade officials have blasted the governor for trying to meddle in local budgetary decisions. Sorry, I'd lost my place for a minute. Okay. The certification must be included a statement that any reduction in funding or proposing funding is a result of reduction revenue collection and is to the reduction of revenue. The draft bill states to be, that doesn't even have nothing to do with it. That was the part I wanted to skip. I'm sorry. Yeah, okay. And okay, let me see where this is at. DeSantis proposals in wide range in how it would penalize people who engage in violent and disorderly assemblies. The bill defines those assemblies as gatherings of 7 people, or more that substantially obstruct government functionings or service, create immediate danger of damage or property or injury to persons, and that deprives any persons of a legal right or disturbs any person in the employment of legal right. My eyes need a break real quick. So what do you guys think so far? To me, I agree with the prosecutors and the governors who have dealt with the Stand Your Ground law before, what they're saying about it, that this is basically wanting to start more violence. It's an incentive to start more violence. It's made for vigilantes, but again, you have vigilantes on both sides. So again, it's to start violence. Violence leads to violence. And somebody's life is not worth a pair of shoes. Somebody's life that is in the wrong place though at the wrong time also, it's not justified for taking a life and an innocent life lost. Anybody can get spooked and read a situation, and there's a lot of people that I've met in my line of work that get spooked very easily and don't even trust themselves, but are thinking about getting a gun because of what is going on in this world today. And it takes one person to read something or think something wrong and take an innocent life. This is not the way we handle things. And these are not people who should be leading us who think this is a way to handle things. Or again, second part, is it because we were trying to incite people to react and get the violence started to then come in and take our rights. What is this law about? Either way, it's taking our rights, one way or another. Or it's taking our lives. And to me, that's not worth it. Criminals should be punished. Agree 110% with that. But not everybody is equipped to decide who is actually a criminal and who's doing a criminal act. And the levels of punishment for certain criminals are completely different. And you're looking at murderers sitting in jail for life on a death sentence that either never get their day in the chair, they live out their lives in prison, or they live many of years in prison, and then finally they get the chair. Those are for hardcore murderers and some who have murdered many and many and many people. And what, for a pair of shoes, we're supposed to give them the same punish, or worse, because they're not even getting to sit in jail. They're just going straight to a death sentence. Well, if we're going to do that, we might as well start with the people in prison for murder. But only the ones who we know for a fact, there's no question that they're not the murderer. I mean hard evidence. Because there's people also in jail for murder who I believe didn't commit murder. And millions of other people believe they didn't commit murder. So now we're just going to murder people on the streets. Where does that make sense to anybody who has left a comment on my other videos that we have a right to protect our things? Yes, we do. And things are replaceable. People are not. Now, if somebody comes in my house to harm me or my family, yes, I will shoot them because they are coming for our lives. And I've been in that situation. I had somebody who was sitting inside our vehicles on our property that I had at gunpoint. But it wasn't worth the change, in my car to shoot somebody. So I don't understand where anybody else thinks that that's okay or that that makes sense. People have a right to be arrested, go before a judge or jury, and get their sentence. This is not a way to handle things. Now, if somebody's in that mob, and in like one or two incidents I've seen on the news, I don't know how many more, or if there was more, that got, one kid got stabbed in the back. If he turned around, he had the right to defend himself against the person who stabbed him. He sure did. I agree 110% with that. Somebody was trying to harm him and take his life. You have the right at that point to defend yourself. So don't twist what I'm saying, and don't try to tell me or people in my comments what I'm thinking or feeling, because you're not listening to what I'm saying. I agree with standing your ground. I agree that you have the right to defend and protect yourself and your property. But I don't believe in taking a life for a misdemeanor crime. Okay, I give my eyes a break. Let me try to start reading again. Okay. The measures would profit any charges. The measure would prohibit anyone charged with crimes related to such assemblies from being released on bail or bond before their initial court hearing before a judge in order to ensure the full participation of the prosecutors and the protection of the public, according to the draft. Okay, let me read that again. The measure would prohibit anyone charged with... Sorry, things are popping up on my phone. Okay. The measures would prohibit anyone charged with crimes related to such assemblies for being released on bail or bond before an initial court hearing before a judge in order to ensure the full participation of the prosecutors and the protection of the public, according to the draft. In other words, you cannot bail out on even a misdemeanor. Not okay. Any government employee convicted of participation in such assembly would be fired. This is the part I absolutely do not agree with and is not fair in any way and does take your constitutional rights away from you. So if, like that one officer, you may see him on my Facebook page, and there's many of, which I might add to my group of videos, but he's on my Facebook page, and also he's all over the media, who believes in your constitutional rights and spoke up about believing in his constitutional rights. And at first the police praised him and said what a good emotional response he gave to the public about, you know, fixing things between citizens and police officers and having our rights, you know, validated and so on. And then after praising him, they then called him back that night and threatened his job and eventually took his job. That is not okay. That is not okay. So again, and this is another video I will get into later, good police officers have to follow the bad ways and the corruption or they lose their jobs. No. Again, we'll get into that in another video. Okay. Any government employee convicted of participating in such assemblies would be fired, and non-government employees would be ineligible for reemployment. Reemployment assistance benefits, the draft says. Okay, let me hope I pronounce this right. Melba Parsons, a civil rights attorney and former deputy director of Florida's American Civil Liberties Union, said the bill is designed to tamp down on First Amendment rights of protesters, which I agree with 1,000,000%. This is to try to stop people from having a voice. It is to stop people from protesting, not looting, not rioting, which they have grouped everybody into, but protesting and having a voice. They are trying to take our voice and our freedom of speech. Again, a civil rights attorney and former deputy director of Florida's American Civil Liberties Union said the bill is designed to tamp down on the First Amendment rights of protesters. She said even the title anti-mob is misleading. Florida did not have large-scale clashes between police and protesters like other states. These are not mobs running around the streets. People are using their First Amendment rights. This is a democracy, least some in Tallahassee forget, said Paulson, a former Miami-Dade prosecutor. Parsons called the proposed bill overboard and will be a chilling effect on free speech, which is what I agree as well. There is something to every bit of what he is doing, and it is to take rights from us citizens. And if you think, again, oh, this is to stop this and so we can have our rights and fight for our stuff and this and that. No, the other end of it is to take all your rights. So you really need to see what is going on. This is not about giving you the right to protect things, because just like I said on my other video, shooting in self-defense also has the right where they can turn around and press charges and file charges on you for doing so. There are two sides to everything. And right now with our corrupt system, it can go either way. It's who they choose to prosecute, when they choose them, and how they choose. And the outcome is always different from one person to another, even if it's the exact same crime. You could take two different people with the exact same crime, the exact same evidence, and one person may walk and one person may not. That is not justice. And there are people who were defending themselves who will sit in prison, and there's other people who had in no way were trying to defend themselves and killed somebody who are not sitting in prison. Explain those to me. There is a lot that needs to be discussed when it comes to our government and system. And even though I would like to get more in depth with people about their own issues and try to help people, I will also follow through with this, because this is about everybody. What our system and our government is doing right now and the corruption inside it, we definitely need to be supporting one another. So this is why I picked this up in my channel. But whatever you guys want to talk about, we can talk about. Join, subscribe. Let's get started and talking. And again, this is for people who are mature, who want to sit and have a conversation. We can debate. We can agree to disagree. We cannot come in here and bully people, though I will not allow that. Okay. Florida lawmakers return to Tallahassee, set tone for the up-and-coming legislation session. On the first day, on the first day, the Florida lawmakers returned to Tallahassee without crowds and with masks. Legislators immediately confronted the two approaching to dealing with the nation's divided and paralyzed electorate. In the Florida Senate, losing Democrat. Well, I think this was not something. This was just the beginning of something. Sorry, guys. Okay. Let's go to the next part of what I wanted to read. It's shaping up to be another ugly era in Florida. Okay, I don't want people... I really didn't even want to read this part because, again, my opinion doesn't go into this part. And I know if people want to twist and turn it, the backlash will come to me. So I'm just therefore stating, again, this is what's in the report, not what I agree with or not agree with. This is just the report, okay? My opinion, on the other hand, is something totally different, and I've got a different opinion than anybody because I don't believe in this Republican-Democrat BS that's going on right now. I believe that we are all people, we are all citizens, and we better come together and try to fix our nation before it's too late. And the way that the government has us so separated right now, I honestly believe is part of the conspiracy, which you can say whatever you want. But my opinion is to get Americans fighting and at each other's throat so that they can then come in and take a strong hold on us. But you believe what you want, I'll believe what I want, and we'll just agree to disagree if you don't, okay? So I'm going to go ahead and read this. Again, don't come at me about it. Okay, it's shaping up to be another ugly era in Florida, which I do agree with that. That's the only sentence I agree in. Okay. Call this the first chapter of Ron Desantis without Trump in the big house saga. The nation is clearly spoken, and its voters, more than 75 million in most ever cast for a U.S. presidential candidate, is a rejection of what President Trump has stood for: racism, division, and the road to the American styled fascism. A Miami man named, no, that's different. Okay. But then there's Florida, home to the defeated president. In Florida, 51% of residents who voted, I don't care about that. The popular closed 2 million Trump's name. Okay, Florida's legislation with the Republican. Okay. His idol dethroned and bonded with the solid majority wins in the House, and Senate Governor DeSantis is taking steps to fashion a fascist, gun-happier Florida. Crackdown on BLM protesters. He's proposing legislation that would treat civil rights protesters getting out of hand at demonstrations without permits or participating in demonstrations that turn violent like hardened criminals. Most of Florida demonstrations have been peaceful. Again, and I say, I was there, I was part of it. Most of Florida demonstrations have been peaceful. There was only one little thing that happened, and it was not a big deal. It was nothing like these other states. So, if anything, I would think one of these other governors would be looking to crack down in their states, but why here? Because nothing happened here. There's something behind this. Okay, but DeSantis wants to make it hard for arrested protesters to get bail. And when they do get it, he wants to rebuttal presumption on bail, which means that the law would require the courts to presume that what's on the arrest report is true until proven otherwise. So, in other words, he wants people to sit in jail and the report to be the absolute truth up until he sees the judge. So there will be no bail or no way to get out and no way to explain yourself. Basically, you're guilty, which is against every bit of our laws and rights. We are not guilty until proven guilty. But this is saying we're guilty until proven unguilty. Again, where are our rights going? And what if it was just simply, again, somebody at the wrong place at the wrong time? And they're now arrested for something they weren't involved with and can't even say anything or prove anything or bail out till they can speak to the judge. It's insane. Again, these were the rights that I was talking about, that they want to keep taking more of our rights. This is the part of the report that I wanted to keep reading that you would have missed if I didn't finish this report. So I hope a lot of you guys didn't blow off this and not realize why the third video was made, which I will put in the headline, because the first one was cut off, which I said in my other video. This one, you're getting the full aspect of it and the rest of the rights that he wants to take from us. If you're not waking up by now, I don't know what to say to you. Again, but DeSantis wants to make it hard for arrested protesters, not mobs, not looters, protesters, to get bail. And when they do get it, he wants a rebuttable presumption on bail, which means the law would require that the court to presume that what's on the arrest report is true until proven otherwise. Okay. That's usually reserved for dangerous criminals accused of murder, sexual assault, rape, and all sorts of other serious felonies. So now illegal activity is considered just as bad as the worst felonies out there. Is it making sense to you? Because it's sure not making sense to me. Okay, so freedom of speech, gone, bye-bye. Is that what you guys really want? Okay. DeSantis also wants to make it a felony to incapacitate a highway, which Trump people are still doing as of last night. And again, I'm not saying I'm on either side. I'm not saying my opinion in the elections. I'm not saying none of that. I'm just saying Trump's people are still sitting on a bridge every night, delaying and disrupting traffic and almost causing accidents here in Florida. And what does Mr. Ron Desantis say about that? Probably nothing. But I'd like to get home when I'm supposed to get home, not 2 hours later, and not with almost several accidents trying to get home. Okay. Wants to make a felony in highway by taking a demonstration there, as we've seen happen in Miami. Okay, DeSantis also wants to make it a felony to incapacitate the highway by taking a demonstration there, as we've seen happen in Miami. And get this, he would make people participating in violent or disorderly demonstrations forever enable for government employee or for state benefits. Okay, so if you protest and speak your mind and you're doing the march, which you're supposed to be able to do across wherever, to wherever, as most protesters do a march, you now cannot be hired by the government or receive benefits by the government. Again, more ways to force you to give up your rights and your free speech. So how does a citizen who wants to exercise his or her right to free speech know ahead of time when a demonstration is going to turn violent? Exactly. Because it usually happens later after the protest, or somewhere from the middle to the end when the bad guys come in. And as the protesters are trying to leave and not be a part of it, they're also caught in the crossfire. And they know who is and who is not part of the violent part of it. You know, you can tell. Again, I've been there. And it's not the protesters, but the protesters are the ones who take the beatings as the rest of them move on to the next location. And how do you know when it's coming? How do you know when to leave? This is where you have to prove and be able to tell who is who, which you can, and make sure you get the right people. And the protesters are not for the violence and the looting. So I'm sure they would step in and help. Okay? But again, here, if you try to do a citizen's arrest, which you have the right to do, you may get arrested too, which is why people stopped helping the police. The American Civil Liberties Union is going to have to move its headquarters from New York City to Florida. DeSantis also wants to make harassing people in public a criminal offense. So no more yelling at people inside a restaurant or a store over politics. He didn't think that one thoroughly through very well, as most of the viral moments caught on video are about Trump supporters harassing people for things like speaking Spanish and wearing a mask, but more likely DeSantis is looking to put on the books a law to be able to arrest truth-telling Miami rights activist Thomas Kennedy, who has interrupted DeSantis's press conference to call him out on his "Shame on You." The Florida director, Thomas Kennedy, who has interrupted DeSantis's press conference to call him out on his mishandling of the coronavirus. Shame on you. The Florida director of United We Dream told DeSantis, "You are an embarrassment. We're getting record-breaking cases every day and you are doing nothing. You should resign." DeSantis doesn't want people heckling him for his terrible job he's doing. He doesn't want law and order. He wants to stifle free speech. But his threat and arson of home rules are okay. The governor is also threatening cities and counties with any intention of defunding the police whatsoever. That means behold the world of hashtags with withholding the state grants and aid funding. The government is also threatening cities and counties with any intention of defunding the police whatsoever. That means behold the world's hashtag of withholding the state's grants and aid funding. I just wanted to reread that because my eyes are now going blurry again, and I want to make sure you hear it. So, again, if you want to practice your rights, don't allow this Ron DeSantis to stay governor, because you will have no rights if he gets his way. Okay. I just want to see how much more I have. Okay. Okay, I got about 5 more of these. So, expanding stand your ground. But most telling of all is DeSantis call for an expansion of a troublesome and controversial stand your ground law to allow business owners to shoot looters or anyone involved in criminal mischief. He calls it anti-mob legislation, but it's an endorsement of vigilantes and of murder for a minor criminal offense. It's as if Florida, which let George Zimmerman get away with murdering a black teen, didn't already have enough vigilantes and wannabe vigilantes. But these are criminals on GOP likes, because the one we often hear about are Trump supporters. In DeSantis' world, they, instead of their victims, need to be protected. What's next? banning the books Republicans aren't fond of, sending writers to the slammer. No, it's not preposterous to GOP already campaigning fiercely to oust newspaper writers from their jobs. No new era of civility in Florida. Sad to say, we were hoping this election would make a new era for the national civility, but there's not going to be any moderation of the political discourse from Florida Republican leadership. There's no end in sight to the mean-spirited pursuit of legislation that targets and marginalizes minority groups. There wouldn't be any sorry, my eyes are not working now. It's been too long. There won't be any respite from far-right conspiracy theories and falsehoods, which DeSantis and other Trump operatives in Florida are peddling on Fox News, nor from demising politician opponents and politicizing the coronavirus. Rather than persuade people to wear masks to the new surge of the virus that has killed more than 17,000 Floridians and infected more than 860,000, DeSantis has thrown a match onto the sorts of fire. The state is going to supposedly fight scraggly-looking Antifa types, as he called demonstrators in Portland, of which we don't see much of in Florida. But the governor insists that we do and that they're a problem. The measures, a threat of civil rights, are steeped by racism. At a time of national reckoning on this, on the sins of our past, DeSantis is trying to make things more comfortable for white people, scared of Black and Latino people. His intentions to arm the population more than it already is, and to threaten dirt and disenfranchise free speech should alarm everyone, no matter the party's affiliation. He's not the governor of all Floridians. He's an operative of Trump Republican Party with no mind of his own. Most of this very robust package of laws, which DeSantis admits will be the harshest in the nation, is directed attempt to stamp out a peaceful anti-political brutality Black Lives Matter movement in Florida. That's why one of his laws specifically penalizes the vigilantes and toppling of monuments. The governor says it's a mandatory 6 months in jail if you throw a brick at police, plus additional penalties for mischief if you're from out of state, because I guess the U.S. Constitution doesn't help you there. If you do it and know there are going to be a ton of bricks raining on you, then I think that people will think twice about engaging in this type of conduct. DeSantis said as a recent press conference, surrounded by an all-white cast of law enforcement officers. All this from a governor who launched his campaign using dog whistle language to refer to as African American opponents and now vows that this attack on civil rights will be the focus point of legislation section. Up for re-election in 2022, DeSantis doesn't think he has anything to fear from Florida voters. He's confident. Like his one-term president mentor, DeSantis has stacked Florida courts with DeSantis has stacked the courts with ultra-conservative, hoping they'll see Americans' constitutional freedom his way, the fastest way. And that's the end. So, sorry guys, the reading got a little bad at the end, but this is everything. I don't know if you can see it. I had to read, and after your eyes stare at this for so long and you need glasses, it's a lot. So I'm sorry if I stuttered in some places, but I apologize. Let me get these people off my phone to stop messaging me real quick so we can talk and then end this. Okay. So, what do you think after hearing all of it? It's not just about a bar fight, as one of the people said in my comments. I get a bar fight. You deserve to be arrested for a bar fight. That's what happens when you have violence and a screaming match. It wouldn't be a disagreement where DeSantis just doesn't want people calling him out, as they say, during his press conference. And God forbid you stand up and say, well, I disagree with what you're doing, DeSantis, and what do you, say or feel about this? And in a press conference, and he doesn't want to hear you slander his thoughts or ways, and now you're going to jail, which you have a right to. The press has a right to. That's the point of a press meeting. But if he puts in that law, then you won't be able to do that at a press meeting anymore, because it would be disrupting his business. Also, people have disagreements. Even if you supposedly, drink a little bit too much and you have a little 2-second argument with your partner somewhere, and people look and then they go the other way and they forget about it. Now you could be arrested. It doesn't make sense because, again, it's taking all of our rights. Well, it doesn't make sense in our eyes that they would want to pass laws like this, but the sense is made where that's what they're doing, is trying to take all of our rights. And you need to open your eyes. There's so much out there, and a lot that, even my kids tell me, oh, I wish I could see something like this, or I wish I, heard about something like that. And I'm like, it's out there. You just got to look, and you've got to, look into things, because I'll give you for instance, so it makes sense. My daughter's interested in aliens, whether they're real or they're not real. And I tell her, if you're so interested, it's out there. You have to look for it. Get off Facebook, get off of, whatever other thing you're watching on your phone or games you're playing, and research, whether it's on, Google or it's on YouTube. The information that you need to know is out there. And some of it, they don't want you to know. So as soon as I put it up or somebody else puts it up, even though we're supposed to have the right to free speech, they're going to take it down before a lot of people can see it. So only a handful see it. And you have to learn to save and screenshot and do whatever you have to when you have a feeling or somebody marks their video with they will take it down. You need to screenshot it so you can send it to your friends instead of trying to post it, because most of the time they'll take it down. And again, that goes against free speech. You have the right to say what you want to say. You have the right to spread the word about what's going on. Or like, sorry, me and you here on YouTube discussing a situation. We have a right to do that, but they want to take that from us. They want to take it all away. And they don't stop the bullying on YouTube or Facebook, but they'll take down important information that we want to share with each other, that we have the right to share with one another. And that's mainly why I started this channel, was for anti-bullying and support. But then this came up, and I said, this is really important, especially with everything that went on with the elections and the government trying to separate our nation with red and blue. What are we, little gangs now? We're all people, and we want what's best. So we all need to kind of get together and figure out what that is and what we need to do. Because, excuse me a second. Because we need to start being able to stand together. It doesn't matter if you're Democrat, Republican, or neither, or something else. We're all citizens looking for our rights to be heard, and to have our rights and to keep our rights. And nobody has, nobody should be able to take that away from us. But they're trying. And that's not okay. And you've seen it in most of what I read today. It's coming. And I don't know, people can think what they want to think, and they can believe that it's not going to happen, but there's a good chance that it's going to, if people don't stand up for their rights and start fighting back. The government is only as powerful as we let them be. We vote them in, and they know that, and we can vote them out. But we really need to get some good candidates in there if we want to keep a good government running. Excuse me, my chapstick is now clumping. And I'm going to take a drink real quick. We need to stand together as Americans. No matter what your beliefs are, everything has to stay civil. It can't get out of hand. And I think asking for more violence is not the way. And I think it's a good way of even getting more violence out there. Because once you stop the violence, start the violence, it's not going to stop until maybe the government steps in with, a lot of harsh stuff, and then it's a civil war. And I kind of don't think we're far off from that at this point, if people don't start, using their heads. We have to get the corruption out of our government, and we have to get some good people in there running it, or I believe it's coming. I believe a civil war is coming. And I know this video is going on pretty long, so I want to start on my next video. I want to get into some other things, but I really wanted to get this information out there, and I want everybody to really pay attention to it. And I don't want it twisted up as these are her thoughts, this is her belief. I'm putting out the information. I give some of my opinions, which I have a right to, and you have a right to, like I've said before, in between it. That doesn't mean that what I'm reading is completely what I believe. It's just the report. Now, as far as my beliefs, I've spoken. I believe we all have the right to defend ourselves. I believe we all have the right to live in peace. But you got to understand, not just the criminals on the streets, as you will think and say, are destroying our stuff and taking from us, but our government does the same thing. But you don't say nothing about that, and you don't think about that until it happens to you. And then you wonder why you have no rights, because you didn't help the next guy fight for his. So why is anybody going to help you fight for yours? And I will continue to fight for my rights. I have the right to live without being told what I can do on my property, how I can live, and this, that, the other, that the government wants to tell us how to do. And I believe we all should have that right. You own a home, you buy it, you own it, but the government's going to tell you how to live on it. How does that make sense to you? When are people going to see how much the government has taken from us and how much they continue to keep taking from us? And that the wealthy will only continue to fight to be more wealthy. They don't care about us, middle class to lower income. They don't care about us, and they never will, because all they care about is using us to get richer. And that's all they care about. And that's what they'll continue to do. And again, eventually, we will have no rights. So they will take everything we have. And then where do you see yourself? Really think about it. Subscribe. Let me do a live so we can chat about it. I'd really love to do a live. Leave me some comments. Let me know what you think, what times you're available. And I in the evening, I have no problem, going on live and let's discussing this. But I need you people to subscribe and become part of my group so the notifications go out and we can discuss it. I have a lot that I worry about. And as I said, this is more a support channel. And so everybody has worries. Everybody, has things that they need to talk about and want to talk about and don't have the people to talk about it with. So join and subscribe and let's talk. I don't care what you want to talk about. We will talk. That's what I'm here for. If I can help you or you can help me or so-and-so can help one of us or we can help them, that's what this is about. This is what I made the channel for. So let's get together and start doing this. And if I can help or touch anybody in some way, that would make my day, probably my year. I just want people to be able to have somebody. And if I can grow this group, everybody should meet somebody in here and have somebody in here that they can go to and talk to, whether it's the channel or it's the people in the channel. So please join, subscribe. And again, this isn't my only topic. I'm not set in one topic. I'm set in wanting to help the people. And I'm set to want to, support people. So whatever you guys want to talk about or you have questions about, subscribe, leave me a comment, and I don't care if it's 1, 2, or 3 people. I will start a live and us 2 or 3 people can start. And if people want to join in, they can join in. Let's talk. Okay, I'm going to let you guys go now. It's been a very long video and my eyes are like done from reading off of a phone for one, and 2 for straightening them. Hopefully in the next couple weeks, I'm going to have to break down and go see an eye doctor because I can't barely see anything anymore. It's blurring together. I guess I'm getting old. So anyways, subscribe, let's chat, hit the thumbs up, set the notifications, leave some comments, and hopefully we'll get together and can chat soon. Thank you guys. Do something kind for somebody. whether you know them or not, everybody needs some kindness in their life, and you pass it to somebody, and hopefully it passes forward to the next person. Whether somebody's broke down or needs some help with their car, or needs a ride somewhere, or somebody short on a couple cents in the line in front of you, give them the 10 cents. Just do something kind for somebody today, and hopefully it'll pass through to the next person, and we can start, showing some sincerity and kindness, because there's not a lot of it out there in the world today. People have changed a lot, and I think we need to bring kindness back. So, again, be kind to somebody today, and I will talk to you soon. Hopefully I'll make another video in the next day or two. Thank you, and you guys have a wonderful night, and happy holidays, happy Thanksgiving. Talk to you soon.